This is an example of a non-fictional digital story if your topic was loss or life choices. As a man thinketh, so is he. I don't know if we will ever fully know the power of our own thoughts and in turn words, but I believe that my friend's story demonstrates the influence they can have on our life. I was a 9-year-old Norwegian English girl with blonde hair. Phill was a 10-year-old Native American Indian boy with dark hair. We had a natural attraction to each other, even at such a young age. Being a girl, I imagined what it might be like to marry him someday. Being a boy, he liked to think I was his girlfriend. Phill and I came from very different backgrounds. Phill lived with his mom and her various boyfriends and stepdads who were alcoholics and abusive to Phill. I lived with my parents who were together, non-drinkers and non-abusive. We spent a couple of years going to school together and hanging out on Saturday nights while our older brothers and sisters went out bowling or miniature golfing. After a few years, our lives went in different directions, and I rarely saw Phill anymore. Phill headed to the partying and living hard life, and I headed to school and the business world. At the age of 34 and 35, Phill and I reconnected. Even though our lives had been so different, we also shared a lot of things. We both enjoyed going to powwows, working on Indian hobbycraft, browsing antique shops and restoring old furniture, and taking care of our dog Boy. Phill and I both loved each other deeply, but it wasn't enough. Phill kept partying and getting into trouble. His life choices were leading him down the path to destruction and death, just like his dad. He kept saying he didn't want to live past 50, whereas I wanted to live life as long as I could. We finally parted ways again. On July 10, 2008, Phil's mom died. We spent the weekend together attending the funeral and driving north to the tribal burial service. I didn't see Phill again until his brother called me in 2009. Phill was in the hospital with a bad infection in one of his legs. I went to see him several times, but then didn't go back. I loved him with all my heart, but I knew we couldn't be together. We were walking different roads. The next time I saw Phill, he was in the hospital again, after having a stroke from a bad infection that had gone into his blood. There was nothing anyone could do for him. I'd never seen this big Indian guy so helpless. His lifestyle had destroyed him. I just held his hand and cried. During the next week, I spent every night at the hospital. He couldn't talk as he was on the ventilator, but he knew I loved him and I knew he loved me. Finally, on July 8th, the medical staff removed the ventilator, and then early in the morning on July 10, 3 years to the date of his mother's death, Phill passed away. He was 49. Unfortunately, his thoughts and words came true. He didn't live past 50. I miss you, Chief.